In 1982, a major Hollywood production purchased real human skeletons, not props, no rubber replicas, real human remains, and they submerged an actress in them for one of the most iconic scenes in horror history. Not because anyone on that production was depraved, Jody, because it was cheaper than plastic. Welcome back to the study, my morbidly curious fiends. I'm Vincent, and as always, I'm joined by my nephew Jody. Oh, you're absolutely not ready. You see, horror has always had two faces. The one on the screen, designed to terrify.
Everybody down! Hello!
And the one behind the camera, which rather frequently is considerably more disturbing.
You appreciate all the pain. I mean, you always dislike whatever the cause is of pain. You always resent it.
Tonight, Jody and I are pulling back the curtain on the most genuinely unsettling behind-the-scenes stories in horror history.
These are all real?
Every last morbid word. Shall we begin?
Yes. Reluctantly, yes.
We began in 1973. William Friedkin, The Exorcist, a film so infamous during its production that many on the crew genuinely believed they were cursed.
I compel you!
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
Let us examine the evidence.
Okay, examining.
During production, a fire broke out on the Warner Brothers set. A massive, indiscriminate fire that destroyed 9 of the 11 interior sets, reducing them to ash. Every set, that is except one. Reagan's bedroom, the room where the demon lived, untouched. Not a single burn mark. Jody, the devil apparently takes care of his own property.
That's actually incredible.
The fire delayed production by 6 weeks, and Friedkin's response was to push harder. He hired a real Jesuit priest to bless the set daily. He fired a pistol beside unprepared cast members to get genuine shock reactions. He slapped Father William O'Malley, a real ordained priest playing a priest, moments before the camera rolled to produce real, unrehearsed tears. And Linda Blair, 12-year-old Jody, was kept in a refrigerated room between takes to capture authentic suffering. She suffered a back fracture during the harness sequence. No CGI. They strapped a child to a mechanical bed and shook her.
This was a major studio production?
Oh, yes, Jody. Academy Award winner, Best Picture nominee, and it gets considerably darker. 6 people connected to The Exorcist died during or shortly after filming. A cinematographer, a night watchman, Jack McGowan, who played Burke Dennings, he died before the film was even released. As someone who has attended more funerals than I care to admit, even I find this rather excessive. Which brings us rather neatly back to our opening, the real skeletons.
Right. Which film?
Poltergeist, 1982. Tobe Hooper directing, maybe. Steven Spielberg producing.
Poltergeist. Newsweek magazine calls it a spectacular ghost story. Pat Collins of CBS TV says, Steven Spielberg has done it again. A jump out of your seats hit. What is it? Full of honest thrills and spine-snapping chills, says Time magazine. Poltergeist. It knows what scares you. Poltergeist. Rated PG.
Not playing at a theater near you. Check newspapers.
The swimming pool scene where Jo Beth Williams is submerged in a pit filled with skeletal remains. Those were not props from a theatrical supply house. They were authentic human skeletons purchased from a medical supply company.
They used actual human remains in this movie?
Because genuine medical skeletons were so much cheaper than real ones. And the actress was not informed of this until after filming. The skeletons then remained in the pool overnight. The actual human remains, Jody, alone in the dark.
That's so disrespectful to the skeletons.
And to the actress. Some attribute what followed to coincidence, others to something rather less explainable. But within 6 years of the trilogy's completion, 4 cast members dead. Dominique Dune, the eldest daughter, was murdered by her boyfriends months after the first film's release. Julian Beck died during the second film, Will Sampson shortly after, and Heather O'Rourke, the little girl, they're here, died at the age of 12 from a misdiagnosed intestinal condition.
That's genuinely heartbreaking.
It is. And the lesson here is not one of curses or supernatural retribution. It is simpler and darker than that. A production decided it was acceptable to submerge a human being in the remains of other human beings without basic courtesy of a warning. Horror, oh, my dear Jody, is not always fictional. But not all our disturbing secrets end in tragedy. Some are merely spectacularly cruel.
Oh, I sense this one is about to be delightful.
1979, Ridley Scott, Alien. Alien, the chestburster scene, one of the most iconic moments in cinema history. Do you know, Jody, why the reactions of Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, and Harry Dean Stanton were so genuinely visceral and horrified?
Because they actually were?
Oh, because they actually were. Ridley Scott told only one cast member, John Hurt, what was going to happen during the scene. The tubes, the mechanism, the 4 gallons of blood and entrails concealed underneath the prosthetic chest piece. Everyone else at 3, 2, 1, everyone else at that table, no idea. They knew something would emerge. They did not know what.
So they just sat at the table in character, and then
a creature tore through their co-star's chest cavity and showered them in genuine animal offal and stage blood. Veronica Cartwright was struck so hard in the face by the blood spray that she stumbled backwards and fell. That's in the final film. Scott left it in because it was perfect, unscripted, unrepeatable, genuine terror. The difference, of course, from our previous stories, the Alien cast went home unharmed with rather spectacular memories.
Fair point.
The question of whether an actor's consent extends to the specifics of what explodes onto their faces is, I leave to the philosophers.
I will allow it.
Before we descend any further, and we will descend considerably further, if you have not yet joined the morbidly curious membership of Coffin Talk, now would be a rather excellent moment to subscribe. What lies ahead is, I assure you, significantly darker.
We've still got The Shining, and the one thing you described to me before we started recording.
Yes. We shall save that one for last. The audience deserves to be prepared. Stanley Kubrick was a genius He was also, by most credible accounts, one of the most systematically unkind directors in the history of Hollywood.
I've heard about what he did to Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall played Wendy Torrance, and for 13 months of principal photography on The Shining, Kubrick conducted what can only be described as a sustained psychological campaign against her. He isolated her from cast and crew. He would not allow anyone to sympathize with her on set, publicly forbidding it. He criticized her performance in front of everyone daily. He told her that Wendy was one of the most dislikable characters in cinema history and that the audience should hold her in contempt.
He said that to her face?
You appreciate all the pain. I mean, you always dislike whatever the cause is of pain. You always resent it. So I resented Stanley at times because he pushed me, and it hurt.
To her face, in front of the crew repeatedly. The bat scene where Wendy backs against the wall swinging at Jack was filmed 127 times, Jody. 127. By the final weeks of production, Duvall was losing her hair from the stress, weeping genuinely between takes. She described The Shining as the most difficult, damaging experience of her life.
Did Kubrick ever acknowledge what he put her through?
He believed he was extracting her greatest performance. And here's the deeply uncomfortable truth. He was not entirely wrong. Wendy Torrance is terrified in every single frame because Shelley Duvall was terrified in every single frame. But there is a rather profound difference between the performance and the wound, Jody.
One is art, the other is cruelty. The Shining gave us both, and the film's legacy carries the weight of that bargain whether it chooses to acknowledge it or not.
And now, Jody, the one we saved for last.
I think I already know this one.
July 23rd, 1982.
The scene for a movie version of Twilight Zone attempted to recreate the terror and the carnage of the hell that was Vietnam. And then, as the crew watched in horror early this morning, the make-believe dissolved, and actor Vic Morrow and 2 Vietnamese children were killed.
Shortly after 2 in the morning, the Santa Clara River, California, John Landis, director of Animal House and Blues Brothers and American Werewolf in London, was filming a segment for an anthology film, Twilight Zone the Movie. A scene featuring actor Vic Morrow, a man fleeing through a war zone while a helicopter circled low overhead. And there were 2 children in that scene.
How old?
They were 6 and 7 years old. And here's where the darkness truly begins. Those children were not legally permitted to be on a film set at 2 in the morning. California child labor law expressly forbids it. They had been hired through a private arrangement, $500 each paid in cash, bypassing every standard protection that existed. Their parents consented. They were present, but the law existed for a reason, Jody. The law existed for this reason. The helicopter came too low. A pyrotechnic explosion misfired. The rotor blades struck all 3 of them, Vic Morrow and both of the children. Micah Den Lee, age 7, and Renee Shin Yi Chin, age 6, were killed on a film set in the production of a horror movie.
I don't have anything to say to that.
Neither did Hollywood. For quite some time, John Landis was tried for involuntary manslaughter. He was acquitted. He continued directing, but those 3 deaths permanently changed the California film industry. Every regulation that exists today protecting child performers on set, the chaperones, the hours restrictions, the welfare workers, all of it was hardened by what happened on that riverbank. 3 lives, and the industry finally listened.
It shouldn't take something like that for people to listen or do the right thing.
No, my boy, it should not. The cinema is a place of manufactured fear. We come willingly, we sit in the dark, we allow ourselves to be frightened, and then we leave unharmed. That is the beautiful and civilized arrangement. But the stories behind the camera, the real human cost of building our nightmares, those do not always end when the credits roll. The Poltergeist cast was diminished. Shelley Duvall gave a year of her sanity to a man who called it art. And 3 people never went home from a riverbank in California.
Out of all of them, which one stays with you?
I rather think you know the answer, Jody. The horror we have explored tonight is not fictional. It's not a rubber mask or a practical effect or a well-placed jump scare. It is the simple and devastating truth that pursuit of great art does not excuse the cost of human suffering. It never has. It never should. Horror taught me that fear is not merely entertainment. It is a mirror, and sometimes, my dreadful darlings, what looks back at us is not a monster.
That got philosophical.
Oh, it rather did. Tell us in the comments below which of tonight's stories disturbed you the most. And if you would like to survive your next visit to the study, do hit that subscribe button. Until next time, pleasant nightmares.